All right, everybody, a reminder on format as we let our student athletes get settled. We'll have both coach and our student athletes here for the first 20 minutes, after which our student athletes will be dismissed. And then we'll have coach for another 20 minutes. So we would encourage you to direct your first couple of questions to our student athletes. Coach, we'll get started with an opening statement when you're ready.
We are extremely excited to still be playing. The respect we have for Duke is immense. The way that they win year after year, what Coach K's done is incredible. But we're looking forward to the challenge of playing an incredible program and giving ourselves an opportunity to play to be in a Final Four.
Questions for our student athletes? We'll go with Bob.
Hey guys, this question's for our Ds. I think I looked this up right. Two of your top four scoring games career-wise are against Duke, 27 and 22. Well, what is it about you and Duke, and does that give you some added confidence going into this game?
It's just another game, really. I was just used to playing them a lot in the ACC, so just got used to playing them, knowing their strengths and weaknesses. But it's just another game now. So.
Questions? We'll go up here on the right.
Todd Richardson, ESPN Arkansas. Stanley, away in neutral venues, you've been pretty lethal from the three-point line this season. If Duke goes either man or zone, do you feel like this could be a game that you could take advantage of?
Yeah, I think it could be a good game as far as, if they go zone to stop our rim attack. Maybe we can get some sets to find some open threes, things like that. But I think it'll just be about getting out there and trying to see how they're guarding us and making adjustments from then.
Matt on the right.
Matt Northern of CBS Sports for Jaylin. Having gone up against Gonzaga's bigs yesterday, and now Duke has another pair of really, really good bigs, is there anything that you can take away from what you faced with Timmy and Chet, or is it a completely different ballgame altogether with the way that these guys play for Duke?
It's going to be another hard rebound tonight for sure. Playing their whole lineup's pretty big, but we just got to play strong, and it's a whole different game for real. Their bigs are different bigs. They got a 7-foot center. They throw a lot of lobs to him, and they got Paulo. He's one of the best players in the country, and he can play from anywhere on the court. So it's a whole new game, and we got to be ready from the start.
Question on the left.
Christina Long from the Southwest Times Record. Stan, I'm just curious, in the film that you've watched on Duke already, what differences you see between them and the team you just beat, Gonzaga?
I would say they got a lot more guys that like to dribble drive and can shoot. I think that they got 5 guys averaging double figures. So I think knowing our personnel is going to be big as far as, because they got different guys that like to do a lot of different things. So I think just really locking in our personnel is going to be huge.
Ron on the right.
Hi, Ron Krychek from the San Francisco Chronicle. Jaylin, for you were asked about Duke's bigs, and you mentioned Paulo in passing. Specifically, what kind of challenge does he present? Seems like kind of a unique player and certainly very poised for a freshman.
Yeah, he has a lot of size. He's 6'10", he's 250, and he also can move really good. So it creates a lot of mismatch things. But we played against players the whole year where we've gone into situations where we changed our defensive looks at people. So it's a different challenge, of course, but we have something that we're going to do, and we're going to be ready for him.
Question on the left.
Hey guys, Jacob Seuss with 5 News in Fayetteville. Jaylin and Devo, anytime you go to an Elite Eight, it's special. But after last year when you guys were kind of locked up in the hotel, couldn't really do anything, how much more special is this experience doing it for the second time when you get to see the city, see your families, and kind of do things off the court?
Yeah, it's way different. Like you said, last year we didn't really get to go through a real March Madness because it was in the bubble, but this year it's been way different. Like walking through the hotel and seeing all the fans yelling, it's just been crazy. It's what you grow up wanting to play in and play for. Like, this is one of the things you look forward to. But it's been a crazy experience, and I'm happy I'm here.
Yeah, like Jaylin said, I think it's very nice being able to see our family and our fans support us, and I think last year took some of that away from us, but we didn't let it get to us. So I think this is helping us out even more. Hopefully we get past this round and advance.
Dan in the middle.
Dana O'Neill with The Athletic. Jaylin, so much obviously is made about you taking charges, but I'm wondering, growing up with three much older brothers, how much of is that just being bodied around and bullied by them?
Yeah, growing up playing with my brothers, they used to always just use or body me because they're so much older than me. Like, we would play horse and they could dunk it and I couldn't dunk it yet, so they always make fun of me with things like that. But now, of course, I'm the one that can dunk, and they're older and they can't dunk, so we'll play horse and I'll dunk it and get them letters. But yeah, just playing with my brothers, I'm pretty sure that's what got me liking to play physical.
Question on the left.
Hey, Scotty Bordelon with Whole Hog Sports. Jaylin, I'm curious what happened last night a couple of times that led you to doubling over. And I think I saw you one time, you said you were dizzy, I think. Did you kind of feel like a responsibility to kind of stay on the floor, even maybe when you didn't feel 100%?
I wouldn't say I wasn't 100%. I don't feel a responsibility. I know everybody on our team's ready, but there's a lot of times where I just stay out on the court. Just the coaches do a really good job of trying to call timeouts. We get breathers during the commercials, but I don't feel a responsibility or anything like that. Yeah, he did that move, and he kind of elbowed me on the side of the head, and I wasn't dizzy or nothing. It just kind of stung a little bit.
Pat in the middle.
For Jaylin, Pat 40 from Sports Illustrated. A question about JD and just his mentality that allows him to be confident enough and determined enough to keep shooting 29 times when the ball's not going in very often.
Yeah, JD's a confident player, and we're just as confident as he is in him. And JD does such a great job of creating. He creates just as much for everybody else as he does for himself. So when he's feeling confident in himself, when he's hitting shots, he's doing everything for us. And he does just as much on the defensive end. He's one of our best defensive players, and he's just great overall. But he has a lot of confidence in what he does. We see him work. He stayed after a shot for I don't know how long today after practice, and he just works on that. So we're going to have as much confidence as he does in him.
Question from the back left.
Alyssa Orange, NBC in Fayetteville. Hey guys, I'll ask this one to Stanley and Devo, but Coach K was up here talking about how the Final Four is the Mecca. There's nothing like it, and I'm sure you've watched it on TV. Describe what it would mean for you guys to get to New Orleans.
Yeah, it would mean a lot, to me personally. It's been a long journey, to get to the NCAA tournament. So, making it with this team would be really special for me, for sure.
Yeah, like Stan said, I think a few of our staff members also is from New Orleans, so I think it'll be very special, not only for us, for them as well. So I think it'll be fun.
We'll go over to the right with a question.
Hey, Brendan Marks from The Athletic. Question for Audis. You obviously were able to sort of make life miserable for Nebhard yesterday. You've got some familiarity with Duke's backcourt, with Jeremy Roach and with Wendell. Is that something that's potentially replicable? And just in terms of their backcourt, what do you make of those two guys?
Jeremy and Wendell are very good players. They like to go downhill a lot. It's basically it's going to be a guard game, really. It's just keeping who could keep who out of the paint. And that's pretty much what we all got to do is just try to keep them paint touches, limited paint touches, and just go with the flow.
Question on the right.
For Jaylin and Davonte, this is Billy Witz with the New York Times. Growing up in Arkansas, how much is the '94 championship game, part of, I guess, growing up? How educated are you on it, and how much was it part of growing up?
One thing I do know is that I think that was the last time we actually played Duke. So I think this is going to be really fun. It's special for a lot of older guys that used to play here. So I think it's going to be a lot of eyes on this game, and I think it's going to be really fun knowing that that was the last time we played them.
Yeah, I was nowhere near born then, but you hear growing up in Arkansas that everybody knows about that team, what they did for the state, and just being able to be or get close to the same position they're in is great, just being in the same position.
Question from Bob.
It's maybe for Jaylin and Stanley, if you other guys want to chime in, but everybody knows Coach K is retiring after the season. So, you know, all these games could be his last, but they keep advancing. So you guys could be the team that ends his career. Just wonder what your thoughts are on that.
We haven't really been thinking too much into that. I think we're just focused on how we're going to attack them offensively and how we're going to guard them defensively. And you know, obviously he's had a great career, Coach K, but right now we're just focused on how we're gonna try to beat them.
Yeah, like what Stan said, he's one of the greatest coaches ever, but that's not on us. We're just gonna go out there, play the game, and it's just another game for us.
Any other questions for our student athletes? Thanks, guys. We'll take questions for Coach now. Ron, we'll start with you.
Ron Krejcik from the San Francisco Chronicle. Eric, how much have you interacted with Coach K over the years? And as sort of a corollary, you said earlier in the week how, you know, coaching against Phil Jackson and I'm blanking on the other coach.
Pat Riley.
Pat Riley, thank you. That no one would intimidate you in college. And I'm not suggesting you'd be intimidated tomorrow, but what's it going to be like, given the circumstances and the stakes, to coach against him?
Yeah, I would say that as far as relationship, I was, you know, I joined him on his radio broadcast like a year ago, so I don't really have any personal connection other than the fact that one of my best friends, Tom Thibodeau, worked with him with Team USA, and Tom speaks so highly of Coach K. And then, you know, just to piggyback on, you know, what our players said, I mean, we're only concerned with, you know, how do we play up to our potential, maybe play beyond our potential, bring our A game, and then try to focus on game schemes that can help us offensively and help us defensively. You know, I don't think I've ever talked to a basketball team about, you know, another coach, just because, you know, our guys, we have a very limited amount of time, and we just have to focus on, you know, who they might be guarding and what are their themes on both sides of the ball.
Matt?
I've actually just got a quick lighthearted question before the real one. I got to know the story, like, what makes you wake up and say, I got to go to Twitter headquarters this morning?
It's a really good question, Matt. Rachel's here, so you'd have to, I mean, I just kind of do what I'm told on a daily basis. So Rachel's a social media expert. I didn't want to go into an extra film session, or the players. I didn't want to wake them up that early, Matt. I knew we were going to the Giants Stadium, you know, to go see the ballpark, and I had already finished my workout, and so Riley and Rachel asked if I wanted to go to Twitter. They thought it'd be a good.
You just squeezed it in. Okay, cool. My question for you, more seriously, is you've defeated Vermont, New Mexico State, and Gonzaga. Duke has obviously not faced, K hasn't faced the program since '94 in the title game. What are the benefits to you and your staff over the fact that Krzyzewski just isn't familiar with your style, and has that actually benefited you at all in any of these previous 3 wins in the tournament to get you to this stage? Just the unfamiliarity of teams, not knowing your guys, not having schemed against them. Is there something about the way that you actually coach and prep that gives you an advantage versus other teams in those spots?
I don't really think so, Matt. I think, you know, like in this particular game, when we aren't playing, for instance, I'm watching, you know, quite frankly, I'm watching SEC games, and if the SEC isn't on, then I'm watching the Pac-12 just because of where I grew up. Other than that, I don't really watch much ACC basketball at all. I don't really watch much Big 12. I'm either watching, like I said, SEC, Pac-12, or NBA games. And so, you know, do I know more about Duke than their staff knows about us? Probably not. I mean, yesterday was, you know, that was the first time I've seen them play live. That's when we started film last night. That's the first time I've watched them on film ever. So I don't think so, but I do think maybe our style of play for Gonzaga is a little bit different based on their last 20 games in conference play. And I only say that because, and I said it last night, I played in that conference, and I have a lot of friends in that conference. I have a lot of players that we recruited when I was at Nevada that are currently in that conference. Yeah, we're a different team than what they've seen, other than in their game against Alabama and some of the non-conference games, maybe when they played Duke. So I think that maybe, and certainly anytime you play a mid-major like a New Mexico State, I think that when you play a Power 5, it can just be a little bit different because of the size. And then certainly with Vermont, in league play, they had not seen anything that could resemble, us or any team in our league, really.
Question over to the left.
Coach Steve Sullivan with KATV. Just talk about the challenge back-to-back games when you face Gonzaga with their size and weapons, and now Duke, different type of size and their weapons. I know you go through the SEC, but that turnaround in just a couple of days.
Yeah, our road, we knew when the brackets came out that our road was not going to be easy at all. It would be overly challenging. And, right now, it's not a lot of prep time. Last night when I got back and we had dinner, we talked about Duke. We went through some themes on both sides of the ball. We went through personnel. We did it again this morning. Obviously, we just had a light practice. We went through it. We'll do it before dinner tonight. We'll do it after dinner. And then tomorrow we'll probably have, 2 film sessions. And we are going to come and shoot. Our shoot-around time tomorrow is at 8:55, which is early, extremely early. But I asked guys, I put it to vote. And they didn't flinch, man. They want to come shoot. They want to go through shoot-around. Same drills. They want to be put into station work. I don't want to say I was, blown away, but I was, I've been around teams that would say they want to sleep in. We haven't missed a shoot-around day at all this year. And might be the first time ever that we've had a shoot-around on every single game day.
Question on the right.
Hey, Coach, Ty Richardson, ESPN Arkansas. You told us earlier this season one of the reasons you changed your lineup is because that's what you felt like your dad would do. And I know your dad's no longer with us, but what do you think your dad would be telling you heading to this game tomorrow night?
Same thing that I told the team a couple days ago, fear no one, but have great respect. My dad was just, he was wired different as far as being a competitor. So I don't think I'm quite as competitive, but I'm close. But yeah, the change in the starting lineup was something that I thought he would do. The way that we go about our daily business, I always think about, how he would do stuff.
Bob on the left.
Eric, I had kind of a two-part. That Buckeye that your mom gave you, did you have it in your pocket, or what'd you do with it during the game?
Yeah, I would love to tell you that I kept it in my back pocket. That's what I told her I was going to do, but it sat in the coach's locker room.
Okay, well, so you going to leave it in the coach's locker room or put it in your pocket tomorrow? What's the deal?
No, I'm going to leave it back in the coach's. I'll bring it to the arena.
Yeah.
I think that brings good luck if I bring it in here and then just kind of leave it on the back table.
And then Audis has had a lot of good games against Duke. He scored 27 and 22. I'm sure you're aware of that. What do you think about that? And do you think that might give him a little extra boost of confidence?
I don't think it'll hurt his confidence, but if you like baseball, a baseball hitter can get hot against a certain pitcher, and then you can play him 3 weeks later, and the guy has 4 strikeouts. So or the opposite. You could struggle against somebody and then have a big game. So I'm not a big believer in things carrying over, because I think each game's got its own identity, its own theme. But if you've had 2 really good games or 2 career nights, it certainly cannot hurt your confidence. It can only help your confidence as an individual player.
We'll go to the middle with a question.
Hey, Coach. Sasha Ritchie with The Chronicle. You guys are obviously a really experienced team, contrasted with Duke that starts a lot of freshmen and sophomores. How does that look to factor into tomorrow's matchup?
Yeah, I don't think that that it factors too much into it, because, last year in the NCAA tournament, we started 3 freshmen in Davonte Davis, Jaylin Williams, and Moses Moody. Moses was our leading scorer as a freshman. I don't know how many shots he took against Baylor, like, I don't know, 17 or something. So, I mean, when you have freshmen that are that talented, they're wired different. So I don't look at any of their freshmen in their top 6 rotation, or sophomores. I don't look at them as being inexperienced. I mean, they've played a whole season, and that's why I think you can see freshmen in NCAA tournaments play really well, because they've been challenged every night in their conference, which is one of the best basketball conferences in the country. So, and then when you got a guy that's, going to be a lottery pick, I mean, his mentality is just, it's probably better than most fifth-year seniors, to be honest.
Billy on the right.
Billy Witz with the New York Times. Eric, I'm not sure. Did you recruit Jaylin, or was he sort of already in the fold?
No, I recruited him.
Okay.
It took a long time, but yeah, I recruited him.
What did you notice his ability to take charges, and if, because that's probably like a subtle thing that maybe if you only see him a handful of times, you don't necessarily pick up. So it sounds like you did. Can you just talk a little bit about what you saw in that?
So really, really interesting that a player that I did not recruit, that Coach Anderson had recruited, was Isaiah Joe from the same high school as Jaylin. Isaiah Joe was the best take-a-charge player I'd ever been around. And then when we were evaluating Jaylin Williams, we were able to see not just the charge taking, but going vertical, using his chest, using his body to protect the rim, as well as being able to block shots. And I thought he was, from a high school perspective, the best off-ball big that I had seen that entire summer in the evaluation process. He's really improved other parts of his game, but that particular part of basketball defensive IQ, he was college ready already.
And just to follow up on that, last night was kind of the flip side of that. I mean, it's a high risk, high reward kind of thing. He got helped get Holmgren in foul trouble, but then he picked up a couple late. Is that something that you've discussed with him, I guess, over the last couple of years, of just kind of like the nuances of that?
Yeah, I mean, we talked to him about, going vertical at times as opposed to just standing in there and taking a charge. But having said that, I mean, I want to give guys freedom on what they feel comfortable doing. And he hasn't fouled out of many games at all. He really hasn't been in foul trouble to consider who he has to guard in our league, and then like who he had to guard last night for Gonzaga. He's pretty good about not getting himself in foul trouble, so we'll kind of continue up to him. I mean, we do tell him which players are susceptible to charges, which guys to stand in front of because maybe they're a little bit more out of control, which players do not try to take a charge on this guy because you're not drawing a charge, because he knows how to jump stop or he knows how to contort his body in such a way that the foul is going to be put on you. So we do have some do's and don'ts on who to and who not to.
Question in the back left.
Hey, Eric. Rocco Miller with Bracketseer.org. First of all, I just want to say it's been awesome to have you and your program back in the Bay Area. It's been a ton of fun, so congratulations. And I'm just reflecting on the last couple off seasons, basically since you've been there with roster construction, in terms of, I don't care if it's a JUCO kid, a high school kid, a transfer portal kid, we won't name names, but Arkansas is usually like in the top 5 on a ton of recruits. You've been beyond aggressive. And now look at you, 2 straight Elite Eights. Does that philosophy start to change now because you're so established with 2 straight Elite Eights, or are you going to stay just as aggressive?
No, we'll always be aggressive. I mean, from the very first meeting that I had with our staff, I mean, we equate, we use the terminology just basically what I learned from the NBA. We'll talk about a player being, hey, this guy's got the potential to be a lottery pick. This player's like a late first-round pick. This is like a late second-round pick. This player's talent level is like a free agent that you pick up later down the road, or this guy's a summer league type candidate. So we have all these different phrases that we use. We are overly aggressive making phone calls in the transfer market. Quite frankly, we don't want everybody to know who we're recruiting. So we evaluate the guys that we really want. I'm calling, and sometimes we're throwing stuff out there just so somebody else, a competitor, gets excited about recruiting a guy that we think can't play for us, to be honest. And I mean, if you look at the numbers and you know, we've called 42 transfer. We're not recruiting 42 because I'm the one. But we don't want everybody to know what our evaluation is. And if we're only talking to 4 players, then everybody would go after those guys because we've had really good success evaluating guys. We have not missed on many transfers. But we'll always be aggressive. That's how the world is right now in college basketball. It's in high school. You know, when I grew up, you went to one high school. You didn't like the playing time. You didn't like your role. Your dad took, your mom took. You're staying there, and you're fighting through it. Well, now guys are going to 4 or 5 high schools. They're going to 3 different states. AAU. You didn't like your AAU program. You stuck with that AAU program because that was the neighborhood AAU program. Now guys are playing for 7 different AAU programs in 9 different states, and so that's the nature of the world. You either adjust. There's no reason to complain or, you know, I never talk to my guys about, hey, you stay at once. You adjust, you adapt, and if you don't, you're not winning. If you don't use you're not going to win, plain and simple. Now we have 5 incoming freshmen that I think are really, really talented. I think it's an incredible class, but we're still going to recruit transfers. And, you know, that's just kind of how you roll.
Question on the right.
Hey, Eric. Brendan Marks from The Athletic. Given the success that you guys had last night against Andrew, especially with Audice being able to sort of lock him down, he had, you know, one of his more turnover-prone games. Is that a replicable strategy against Duke, given the number of ball handlers they have, especially Paolo, who can sort of do that from a different position on the floor?
Yeah, I don't think so. Again, just as Bob and I were talking, you know, every game's got a different theme. And from a coaching standpoint, number one, we had a lot of days to prepare. We don't have that. I can't put them through all these different stations and go through all the footwork that we think we're going to see and which way is Timmy going to spin and where you're going to dig on what dribble. I can't do all. We just don't have enough time, and we don't have enough energy based on, you know, we play tomorrow. And Roach is different. You know, he's different than. And I had played against Andrew, so I had game planned against him. I knew what worked, what didn't work, so I felt really comfortable about having a solid game plan because I had seen him with my own eyes live. It wasn't on tape. I'm not that familiar with who we're playing. You know, I mean, again, I didn't start the tape until last night after the game.
Question from Bob.
Hey, a couple, if that's okay. Eric, I noticed the first person you hugged in the stands was your mom. What did it mean to you to play such a great game? And that was the first time your mom had seen you coach Arkansas. And just what was that moment like for you?
I mean, really, really special. You know, my mom is she's seen more basketball than I have. You know, I mean, she went through it with my dad. It's been you know, not easy to, you know, to not have your mom come and visit. Not, you know, not just the basketball part, but it's hard travel. There's no direct flights from San Diego to you know, to Fayetteville, and so it really did mean a ton. I mean, not just the game last night, but also, you know, she's, you know, with her granddaughter and gets to see Michael and Matthew, and you know, yesterday they went to dinner without me, but they all went to dinner, and so I think there's a lot of special things. But I wanted her to know, like, I didn't want to, you know, go to one of my sons or my wife or my daughter. I wanted to go directly to her. Because like the last 45 seconds, I kind of looked over there and like to see the emotion of her excitement was pretty cool. I was focused on the game too, but I did glance over there a couple times.
And did you say you went on Mike Krzyzewski's radio show, or what were the circumstances around that, and what was that like?
I don't know, Bob. Just some producer called and asked if I'd go on with Coach K on his radio show, and I said, Coach K, yeah, please, I'd love to. That'd be awesome. And so we just chopped it up on the radio.
He said yesterday it's not a podcast, it's a radio.
What's that?
He said it's not a podcast.
It is a podcast?
No, it's not a podcast.
Yeah, I use the right terminology, right? Radio show. I'm not like these other guys that call it the wrong thing.
Ron on the right.
Eric, I was hoping to follow up on your earlier comment about your dad and how you're almost as competitive as he was. How similar are you in sort of demeanor and coaching style? And when you were growing up, was there ever any doubt that you would become a coach?
So I think, first of all, he was my best friend. He was my idol. When I went away to college, I talked to him every single day. There wasn't a day that went by that I didn't pick up the phone and call. Similarities, probably really close, Ron. I did coach a game against him. He was coaching Rochester in the old CBA, and I was coaching Rapid City. And his team was up by about 15 at halftime. And well, let's put it this way. He could hear me through the walls of our locker room to his locker room. My team went out on the floor. There was a knock on the locker room door. It was my dad. Now, this halftime of a game, he's the opposing coach. And he goes, man, I've never heard you act like that before. And so I was like, it kind of caught me off guard. And he goes, then he walked out and he goes, it sounded like me. And we ended up coming back and winning the game. But he wanted to trade one time. And he called and I said, hey, yeah, I'll trade. I think it was Clinton Wheeler. I said, I need a first, second, third round draft pick for him. I've never heard him talk to me like that. He's like, are you crazy? You know, like, the guy's only worth a second rounder, and you're asking, it's your dad, man. Do me a favor. I'll give you a player down the road when you need one. I said, no, Dad, I need first, second, third round draft pick. But a lot of, just a lot of competitive stuff. Playing pickup ball with him. Anybody that's ever played pickup ball with my dad, it was, you had to full court press. Nobody was allowed to get a layup. If the game was to 15, it took an hour to get from 14 to 15 if he was losing, because he would basically foul you every play. So a lot of competitive stuff in the household.
Take another question on the right.
Coach, you referenced the Baylor game earlier, and I just remember how emotional it was for Jaylin, JD, and some of the other guys that were on this team last year walking off the floor. You even talked about how you watched that game several times over months later. Is that something that they've talked to this current team about, how they felt then, and just kind of where that season ended last year?
Thanks for the motivation tip. We might use that. Hadn't thought of it, Ty, but they haven't. I mean, but it was like in the locker room. I vividly remember, holding Moses. He's the guy that was really crying and sobbing, and it hurt him tremendously. And then it was the same thing with Jaylin Tate and Justin. Just because those two guys, we kind of knew that they were. I shouldn't say those two. Even Moses, we knew that those three were. That was probably the last time that they would put on a Razorback uniform. So I do remember those three guys in particular, but certainly Jaylin and Devo. I know they were hurting as well. But maybe that's something good we talk about tomorrow at our last pregame meal before we go play that game, and that's the last time that we'll meet going into the game. So that might be a good thing for those guys to get up and give them the floor for a minute.
Any other questions for Coach Musselman? Bob?
Eric, I guess kind of following up on that. I mean, what are your emotions like being on the verge of going to the Final Four again? Because it's like, Mike Krzyzewski said it's the Mecca. It's what are your feelings?
Kind of like every game, to be honest with you, Bob. I mean, I thought last night until the Adis dunk, I just try to be composed. You're trying to get your team to focus on the task at hand. I didn't really feel last year that our team was that nervous going into the Baylor game or felt like any added pressure. I didn't think we played last night. Actually, I thought we played way more loose last night than we did in the first. I thought the first two games, that first game was miserable, because we're supposed to beat Vermont. I didn't have that feeling in the locker room at all. I thought like all of us felt really comfortable from a competitive nature, and I hope that we have the same kind of loose feeling, tomorrow. Because I don't think you can look beyond, what if. I mean, what if you could look the other? What if we lose, and then we're done for the year? I don't think you can. I think you just got to focus on the team you're playing, strengths, weaknesses. That's all. That's all we really needed to think about right now.
Anything else? Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
As a reminder, the student athletes will be in their breakout rooms until 4:20.